the question seems to be, why are you doing YouTube? You're only doing it for likes and views and money, and you shouldn't. I don't really understand what people's objection is. I'm just a pilot, a private amateur pilot who likes to record my flying amongst other things on my YouTube channel. First of all, let's dispel the money myth. My channel gets I've got about 3,600 subscribers on my personal video diary YouTube channel. I get 4,000 or 5,000 views a month on it now, because it's quite a big back catalogue of flying stuff. It's not all flying stuff. And from those 5,000 views a month, I get about £45. The amount of time, I spend 10 times that amount just on editing, paying someone else to edit the videos, right? And that's just the editing. Never mind the camera costs, never mind the time, the sorting the footage, everything else. So why do I do it? First and foremost is to make a record of these wonderful trips with my family, and I suspect probably half of those views are just my kids watching flying vlogs back because they absolutely love it. But that's one reason. The second reason I started that channel was actually because for my main day job, which is running Best Stage and Moving Home with Charlie, I wanted to learn YouTube. I wanted to learn how to become a YouTuber because I needed to create a presence on YouTube for my work. And it's worked. And I've now got just approaching 25,000 subscribers on my Moving Home with Charlie YouTube channel. And which is my main, outside managing the Best Agent platform, the Moving Home with Charlie channel. It's now getting me. I'm probably going to be in a national newspaper this weekend for my efforts on that channel, and I'm going to be on a TV news channel next week. So when you look at the exposure that I'm getting on the Moving Home with Charlie for professional reasons, it makes the traffic and the exposure I'm getting on my flying channel, my diary channel, negligible, and honestly a bit pointless. So the real motivation as far as the aviation content goes is this: I have received, obtained, got, procured, whatever you want to call it, so much value in terms of aviation, understanding aviation and being a pilot, from other YouTubers' channels. I have got so much value, and I've learnt so much, and I've learnt that the more you learn, the more there is to learn, and I continue to get value from the YouTubers, the aviation YouTubers I watch. And so if, when I'm recording flights for my personal diary, my family diary, there is value in those videos, and I know there is because I get 10 times more supportive comments than I get negative ones, literally 10 times more, then it seems to me that it would be selfish not to share it, and I'm withholding what content and experiences and stories and events and mistakes and lessons that are of real value to other pilots, in the same way that other YouTubers' content is of value to me. So it's my contribution, it's a contribution of mine to the aviation community, both in the UK and anywhere else people watch it. It's a contribution, and no one is forced to watch it. This is one of the things I find bewildering, why people who don't like it watch it. I'll never understand that. I will never understand anybody who chooses to spend their spare time watching something they don't like. Riddle me that. Honestly, it's like the social media equivalent of self-harm, online self-harm. I'm gonna watch it because it really, really annoys me. Just don't watch it if you don't like it. I don't care. So, yeah, that's one thing, right? There are people who find value in aviation content, so I share mine as well. And the other thing, which is really important, and it was Bob Hoover who said this, the most important thing any aviator, any pilot can do is encourage new people to join aviation. And this is leading up to the biggest question that I've had in the sort of hornet's nest that's kicked off, which is, why do you engage the negative commenters, the toxic commenters, the trolls, the bullies? Why do you engage them, Charlie? Just ignore it, just ignore it, just ignore it. Now, the negative, the sum total of all the negativity I get in the pilot forum doesn't even register on the scale of the amount of negativity I get from the Moving Home with Charlie channel when I talk about the fact that I think house prices are coming down and how bad some estate agents are and that kind of stuff. You know, I get industrial scales of negativity on that channel. So honestly, the negativity in the pilot channel is something that I could easily ignore, and it's of no consequence to me. But if I did ignore it, if I didn't stand up against it, and I'm going to be very precise about what I'm referring to that I'm standing up against, then it causes a problem. The problem is that it puts, and I know this because I've had people contact me privately and I've spoken to other YouTubers privately who have already stopped because of the negative, toxic, personality attacks, right? The toxic, negative detractors, whatever you want to call them, right? I do not mean, when I say that, I do not mean people who are giving constructive criticism or questioning mistakes. Those are not negative people. That is always welcomed, and I've always been very public in my videos about how I massively welcome all constructive criticism, all constructive questioning, constructive feedback, even if it's harsh, as long as it's criticism of the flying, the decision making, the situation, the planning, the event. All of that is, when it's constructive, is valuable and positive and leads to high value discussions and debates from which we can all learn. When I talk about the negative, guys, I'm not talking about people who are criticizing stuff. Criticism isn't negative in my view. What's negative is people attacking YouTubers as individuals, questioning motives, because that's irrelevant to the flying. It's just irrelevant. And more importantly, it's off-putting to people who want to share their mistakes. And the sharing of mistakes, we can all agree, can't we? The sharing of mistakes is valuable. Yes or no? Do we as pilots derive value from seeing in real time how problematic situations unfold? Whether they are silly, avoidable mistakes, whether they are unfortunate situations no one could have foreseen, we all derive value from the experience of others, but only if it's shared. Only if it's shared. Therefore, my view is that it is beholden on all of us in the aviation community to encourage, not discourage, the sharing of mistakes, problems, adverse situations that can arise in aviation, whether they are the result of poor decision making, poor airmanship, or not. Okay? That's my stance, that it is beneficial to us all and valuable to us all to encourage the sharing of mistakes. So when I see negative personal attacks being made, which aren't constructive in any way as to the actual event or mistake or situation that's being shared, the reason I stand up to it rather than ignore it, and by stand up to it, I mean I actually openly invite those people to debate their point of view with me. And every time I do, they run away like spineless cowards. The positive criticizers, the constructive criticizers, are the ones who, when I engage them in it, go, yeah, let me explain my views. Let me back up my thesis on the mistake that you made and how it could have been avoided. They're brilliant, and they always respond positively to, oh, can I engage you in the discussion of that mistake? Yes, of course, here we are. And maybe it's done publicly, maybe it's done privately. But that's the difference between a positive criticizer and a negative criticizer. A positive criticizer will always engage in a discussion on the topic, not the person, on the decision making, not the character, on the events that unfolded and the reactions to them, not someone's motivations for doing something. Whereas the negative ones, and this is the thing that the negative segment of these commenters do not seem to understand. If you are not willing to stand up and back up your argument as to your criticism of me or another YouTuber or anyone else showing their mistakes, you are part of the problem, because you're metaphorically someone who throws stones and then when challenged runs away. And if you look in the comments under the Fire Magazine post, you will see that that's happened, where people have challenged me or challenged my mere existence on the Flyer live stream, and when I've invited them to explain why, they've gone no. And when I've invited them to illuminate me, let me know why they think my presence is a bad thing, no, they run away. Either they don't respond at all, or they respond with a, no, don't want to engage you. You can see it yourself, just go and read it in the comments. And that conduct is what puts other pilots off from sharing their mistakes. And if you are someone whose conduct in the comments is putting other pilots off from sharing their mistakes, you are detracting from people's efforts to make aviation safer. You are detracting from the amount of future sharing of mistakes other pilots like me may or may not choose to share. So, and because it is a deeply unpleasant thing to engage someone who's being negative about you personally rather than about your decision making, and so many people seem unable to separate those two things. What you think of my decision making is relevant. What you think of me isn't. The two things aren't the same, right? Your choices aren't you. None of us can help who we are. We are who we are. All of us can help and be accountable for our choices. That's why I welcome criticism of my choices and my decision making. But that's why I stand up against what I perceive to be just intimidation, bullying, harassing, negative, trying to make me shut up. I mean, one of the most prolific arguers with me on the Facebook group, one of the UK General Aviation Facebook groups, is always coming at me about me and my motivations and why don't I shut up. And I think that people that do that are the ones who don't like me standing up and going, I'm calling out the negative commenters, not the critics. Always welcome. I can't say this often enough because some of the dipsticks just don't seem to understand the difference between constructive criticism of decision making and negative, intimidating behavior. It's only the purveyors of the negative personal attacks appear unable to tell the difference between constructive criticism that is adding value to the debate and negative personal attacks which drive people away from sharing their mistakes. Some people have accused me of having no proof. What, proof that less people sharing mistakes is taking value away from aviation? You think that's not an obvious, provable? I mean, like nobody disagrees with that, do they? The more people who share their mistakes, the better for us all. Does anyone disagree with that basic premise? Because apparently, unless I provide proof that this is happening, my comments aren't valid. Well, I have the proof, but I can't share it because it's private. I have multiple private comments and even videos sent to me of one pilot in particular sending me videos sharing his mistakes that he filmed, that he wants to share, to get feedback on how the situation arose. He was a low-time pilot, got his PPL, he was out there practicing, got into trouble, and came to me saying, I wish I could discuss this to find out where I went wrong. I got into trouble, I got a bollocking, but I can't, because look what happens to you, Charlie, when you show your mistakes. All of the little trolls come out and have a go at you, and I don't want to do that. This guy says, I wish I could share my mistakes for the constructive feedback I would get, which I could learn from, but I can't because of the trolls and the negative, toxic commenters. I'm rambling now. I've been rambling for 16 minutes, but it's so important. And the reason I don't back down is because I don't see any other, for reasons I completely understand, I don't see any other pilots standing up and pushing back against the non-constructive, toxic commenting. And the only way to push back against it is to directly confront it. And if you don't, if we don't, we are enabling it and indirectly actually encouraging it. Right? If you don't stand up and call out the people guilty of negative personal attacks as opposed to constructive criticism, they will keep doing it. It's the same as any type of bully. Bullies always bully out of insecurity about themselves, always, because happy, secure people never ever bully people, right? Bullies are always weak, insecure people, and they continue to do it because it feeds whatever they need feeding. It makes them feel better in the moment. Oh yes, I've got the moral high ground. Oh yes, I've put that person in their place. Oh yes, whatever it might be. And I abhor bullying, and I have my entire life, and I have a pretty impervious thick skin because I just don't care, especially what strangers think. I've never ever cared what other people think, even people I know, so especially people I don't know. I've just never cared, and that's it's a kind of superpower, because it means I'm unaffected by the personal comments, and so I can challenge them. And bullies don't like being challenged. They don't like it. I mean, they really, really don't like it, and they squeal, and they run away, and they just throw more personal attacks, or they just stop until you effectively, metaphorically, punch them in the face. Metaphorically, not literally. And I find it curious that the armchair toxic trolling pilots online never express those views or comments in real life that I've seen. I have had conversations in person with pilots who have raised constructive challenges and said, I think you got that wrong, and it's done in a positive, constructive way. No problem with that. What I haven't seen in real life, guess why? Because they don't have the courage to do it, is people going, I think you made that mistake just to get more likes on YouTube. Because if you say it out loud in real life, you realise how stupid it sounds. I put my life in danger and put my children at risk of not having a father for an extra £12 of YouTube ad revenue. I mean, it's difficult to engage with that level of stupidity when it comes. I saw one person has even likened me to Trevor Jacobs, that American YouTuber who faked an engine failure and jumped out of a plane with a parachute to get clicks and likes. And someone's even said, I'm just like that guy. Oh, I mean, I find it entertaining when you get that level of ludicrousness. Anyway, that's my point. I will continue to share my mistakes. And what's sad, by the way, is that some of the most interesting flights, especially flights with other pilots that I have filmed, I can't publish. Because they have other pilots in them, and the other pilots are like doing things. And these are very experienced pilots. These are sometimes instructors, much more experienced pilots than me. I always try and fly with pilots who've got more experience than me, because otherwise I'm not learning anything. And I can't publish those flights, and it's an absolute tragedy, because there's probably more value in the There's more value to be shared from the flight vlogs I can't publish than all of the stuff that I do publish. And that is only the case because of that minority of incredibly destructive, negative, toxic commenters. The only thing you're achieving, guys, is you're not stopping me flying, you're not stopping me doing wicked things with great pilots. You are stopping me from sharing that content at the expense of all the other pilots who would have liked to have seen it. So here endeth that ramble and rant. I'll continue to share whatever I can share. Oh, there's one flight in particular coming to mind right now, seaplane flight, where I was actually the passenger, not the pilot, and I filmed it, and it was just extraordinary and beautiful and amazing, and he was one of the best seaplane pilots in the world, acknowledged as. I can't share that stuff. I mean, the kind of, by the way, they're always British. I'm not aware of any American negative commenters on my content, even though a lot of my flying is done in America. Right, I'm rambling. I'm going to shut up now. I would welcome anyone who wants to make a comment about this video and the point that I'm making in a constructive way, including challenging me, questioning the points I'm making. If it's constructive and with good intent to further the cause of aviation and attract more people to come into aviation, that's great. If you just want to have a pop at me, I can't stop you. Knock yourself out. If it's overtly personal attack, then I just block people who do that. But otherwise, yeah, I just ignore it if it's just sort of spineless and pathetic. So, most importantly, I'd like to finish this video with a real thank you to all of you who have both publicly and privately sent me messages of support, especially to those instructors amongst you who have offered to come flying with me for free and to share. And I have been able to accept some of that. I've had too many offers to be able to accept. That is what I love about aviation, is that overwhelmingly it is an incredibly positive community. And to those instructors who've already helped me, especially those ones of you from America who I've had video calls with, where you are commercial pilots as well as GA instructors and GA pilot and aircraft owners yourself, where you have, the calls I've had with you have been so valuable and so supportive and so constructive, and I have taken on board lessons from those which I use all the time. The sum total of the value that I get of all the positive contributions of feedback and support is 100 times greater than the negativity that I get. And that's what gives me the confidence and empowerment to continue pushing back against the dipsticks. Thanks for watching, guys. Fly safely. Share your mistakes, guys. I mean, I understand why you wouldn't, but if you're on the fence thinking about it, share your mistakes. I will come to your defense if people come at you for what it's worth. Otherwise, fly safe. See you on the next video. Bye, guys. Thanks.